Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It's been a little while. Took last week off. Good morning, everybody. Finally got this going on YouTube. How's everybody doing? Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Victor. What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me and see my screen okay? Let me know in the chat. Good morning, Jose. Good morning, Ray. Yep, good. Audio, video, good. Cool. So if the quality is a little bit lower on the screen share, let me know. In the settings this morning, I selected the lowest latency for the YouTube stream. So I'm trying to have the least lag and the quickest stream for y'all. Hopefully, I know that will come at the cost of degrading the live stream quality a little bit. But I think, especially as we're watching the market live, it's better to have the absolute lowest latency than the highest graphics just for this. So let me know what you guys think. I would appreciate feedback on that. So we're looking at the daily time frame here. I'm going to jump right into it. For those of you on Instagram, I'm sharing my screens on YouTube. I recommend hopping on the YouTube live stream. I share the link in my story, and the link to my YouTube channel is in my bio on Instagram. But I will stay on here and try to call out the levels audibly. Good morning. Good morning. Awesome. So I was out all of last week. I had some work being done in my office, and I just used it as a time to step away from the markets. You know, it was around the July 4th holiday here in the United States. And so typically the volume and volatility is pretty low anyway. I was just looking back at the charts. I haven't gone through and replayed any data on Bookmap or Orderflow. Just looking at the candle charts of what I missed, it looks like I just continue to see that slow, steady grind up. So I probably will dig in more later after I'm done trading to go back and go through any like key spots. But we'll get into the analysis for the day. Like when I went through the analysis every day a couple weeks ago when I did the live trading for like a whole week, 2 different weeks last month, I was talking about this kind of wedge pattern on the higher time frame. I still have it marked here because we broke out of it, and we really have not closed a single red day since we broke out above this. We tested the bottom of that wedge down here, and since then it's pretty much been a straight up shot. Although you can see after we broke out above that wedge and made our way towards all-time highs, it kind of, you can just see on the daily time frame, it just got smaller and a bit slower. Now this looks like the largest really rally that broke above all-time highs. What was this on 7/3? So right before the holiday. Nice little pump to the upside there. And we're pulling back to kind of retest these key areas. So just looking at the higher time frame daily, we had this area that was prior all-time highs and prior swing highs where the market sold off from. We had all-time highs here. What was this on December? This is contract adjusted too, by the way, guys. So I always, for my analysis, I always tend to look at the contract adjusted on ES S&P futures. So yeah, we had these all-time highs, sold off pretty aggressively. So that really this zone here between 62.58 and 62.39 is a key area that I'm watching on my end to this morning if we pull back that far into there. And we can really see, just looking at the daily time frame, when we got up there, I wasn't in the charts this past week. My office was totally taken apart, so I didn't have access to my trading desktop. So completely out of the screens last week, but just looking at those levels that I've had marked for months, all year really. And you can see as we got up here and tested these levels, look at this upper wick, and then really kind of a pretty ugly day here on 7/1 with an upper and lower wick and closed right in the middle of that zone. And then after a couple days of consolidating in this kind of area, we broke out above it, and that's where we find ourselves now. So what I'm looking at here is kind of a rally that broke out above this wedge. We came into this key zone that was prior all-time highs on the contract adjusted. We consolidated, and then we broke out again. So rally, we kind of based and then rallied again back to new all-time highs. I've seen some chatter about this 6,300 level. I think like Bank of America analysts have called this out as a key like selling point, whatever. I never look to be a first seller when we are making all-time highs and moving up. I'll take questions here at the end. I'm just going to go into the analysis because we got 5 minutes till the open, guys. But I'll take a look at the chat at the end. I don't look to trade the first couple minutes anyway, so we'll take a look at that in a sec. So we're pulling back now. Let's see, we've pulled back to around 62.90, and we've kind of bounced up a little bit overnight. We had a little bit of a gap on the market open. It looks like we pulled back and pretty much closed that gap. Just looking at the 1 hour time frame up here. Show you guys what I'm looking at. So we had this little bit of a gap on the open last night or yesterday, I guess. And then we pulled back overnight, really filled this gap and consolidated, and then rallied right here around 5 a.m. pretty nicely. And now we're pulling back to test this. So we'll see if this area holds right here. I would say is a key spot to watch, just because we had this consolidation and then rally, and then it's right pretty much at that 6,300 level. So watching this on the open and then target would probably just be pre-market highs up here above 63.15, and then prior day highs up to 63.30s, call it. That's typically what I do when the market is slow and grinding like this. I look for key pullbacks into key areas, especially impulsive, a little bit relatively larger pullbacks. And then I look for setups that I have a few different setups that I look for to get in long. And then I don't look to get crazy greedy if it's breaking out at all-time highs. If it's really aggressive buying and driving price higher, then I'll ride it for a bit. And then when the tape slows down and I see large absorption, large selling start to step in, then I'll typically just scale out. So yeah, first key areas that I'm watching this morning is pretty much this 62.90 area up to 6,300, call it. If we dip below there, then like I said, I'm watching this zone down here where we had this previous consolidation. That was that same area where those swing highs were that I have marked here between 62.39, 62.58. I really like that 62.58 prior contract adjusted all-time high level. You can see it was tested 1, 2, 3, a little bit 4, and then rejected. So it rejected 4 times before it broke out above. And each time it rejected, made a higher low. That's typically a pretty bullish sign for a breakout at the highs. When you see price getting up to a resistance area, all-time highs, whatever, and you see it testing multiple times, just building volume up there, and then pullbacks are leaving higher lows, that's pretty indicative that bulls are continuing to be strong. Sellers are not able to reject the level, and good sign that a breakout is to come. And it did. Broke out here. Now we're pulling back to test that. So we'll see if this little area where we gapped on the Sunday open refilled that gap, and now we're holding it. We'll see if that holds this morning or if we pull back further. I really have no plans to be a first seller, so top reversals I'm not really looking for. If we break under this gap and hold under this gap, and I see a lot of absorption and a lot of significant selling, then I may look to take that on a short setup and just target this consolidation area here that I talked about. But I don't like that setup as much. And as we move higher and hit the highs, I like to use highs as targets for longs in these kind of conditions, and I almost never look to take shorts on those kind of setups. So that's a higher level view of the game plan this morning. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. So I'll take any questions that you guys do have this morning now. and we'll watch this open. Again, this is my first day back after being out of the screens for like a whole week now. So I'm going to take it a little bit easy and just kind of be a little patient this morning. And if I don't take any trades, that's okay. You know, first day back, I'd rather just get a little bit of screen time and watch how this develops, get a feel for the current market conditions. A lot of buying right off the get-go this morning. So I'll switch over to show bookmap like I always do during the trading session. I think that's the most valuable like single tool to watch. There we go. So you guys know those levels and everything. For Instagram, if anyone's still watching on Instagram, I recommend hopping over on YouTube and joining on there where I'm sharing my screens, and I'll stay on for the live stream. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and end it on Instagram. So peace. All right. So nice bit of buying here, coming up to VWAP right around that 6,300 level. So we'll see what happens here. All right, let's take a look. Good morning, Ishan. Good morning, Richard. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Was up 250, about 50% on my account. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, the first step to surviving and making it in trading is you have to completely eliminate the blowups. You have to have a hard risk limit per trade per day, and you know the blowups just can't even be a part of the vocabulary. It can't even be an option. And if you can't get, that's the first hurdle to get past. You have to get that control, so you're not, you know, completely blowing up multiple weeks of good trading performance in a single day. It's tough to do, and I've been through that. Still post pre-market plans and invest trade gifts is which channel? Yeah, I usually do. I haven't this morning. I haven't even opened up the Discord, to be honest. I just got back from my run shortly before doing this stream. So like I said, I'm having a little bit of a slower start here, just coming back from a week off. I do normally post my game plans in the main chat of the Invest to Trade Academy group, but I have not yet this morning. To be honest, I haven't written out my game plan. It was just what I already had it in mind, and I already shared it with you guys here, but I have not like written it out fully to even share on there yet. But I will go back to that starting tomorrow. What time do you have your VWAP set to start at? I'm just looking at this VWAP on bookmap here, and I believe it just starts with the session, like where I open. I'm not a super big like indicator guy at all. In fact, I just kind of look at it for like the average of where price has been moving. I think it's just the intraday session. Let's see what my settings are here. Just kind of the default. Start anchor is from 6:16. I haven't changed this. This is just whatever bookmap defaults to. Nice bit of selling here, and this is why I never jump in trades in the first minutes, just even though seeing a lot of buying here, like quickly coming back and reversing. So just let this kind of settle down, play out here, and see what happens. Yeah, no problem, Michael. Got it, got it. Ice latte check. Cheers. Logan knows, he's been here before. I like hot coffee too, but man, it's hot. It's hot in Florida, guys. It's freaking hot, especially I just got back from a run. Even already this morning, it's hot. So iced latte is the way. Have nice one of those Breville, whatever Italian espresso makers. It's my go-to. Obvious uptrend line on the hourly that I'm looking at to long if a break fails, trapping sellers. Yeah, that's a good game plan. You started making iced lattes because of the streams. Nice. Yeah, it's just, I don't have any flavor in it. It's just straight espresso and a little bit of milk. That's it. I don't do sugar. I don't do flavors, nothing. Just espresso and a bit of milk. Alcohol while trading, I don't know if I'd recommend that. You need the most clear-minded decisions. And actually, guys, during my trading, I quit drinking for a while altogether. I do drink a little bit, like on the weekends, I'll have a little bit of red wine, but for the most part, I quit drinking. Definitely like liquor and beer, just don't drink. Need the most clear-mindedness that I can possibly have. And, even drinking the day before can lead to just a little bit of brain fog and not the best performance the next day. So a good bit of selling here ever since around 8:20 this morning. Oh, I forgot to talk about news. There's not a ton of news today. We have not a ton of news tomorrow either. There's the FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday, jobless claims on Thursday, WASD report noon on Friday. Not super huge for me. So Wednesday, Thursday, there's a little bit of news, but overall, a little bit lower impact news this week. Any vitamins or supplements? Yeah, I do take some from a brand called Earthly, I think. They have some like mental clarity things. It's got some like mushroom extracts and stuff that I take. Watched you drinking iced coffee, and now I have. Yeah, I need a. Hang on, I'll find the exact one that I use, the exact espresso machine. It's actually on sale for Prime Day, 27% off. That's actually a huge deal. It's normally like $7.50 and it's on sale for $5.50. How do I find this? I'm not super interested in jumping anything right at the current location, so I'm just kind of chilling and watching this with you guys. That's the espresso machine that I use. Highly recommend. It's very good. All right, all right. Good morning, Greg. Sorry I missed your message as well. Good morning. I haven't checked like earnings, if we have any significant earnings coming this week. It's not always something that I watch, but we're seeing lower high on this bounce. I would say this buying so far looks relatively smaller than the selling that we're seeing, but it's kind of tough. We're kind of consolidating here into a wedge pennant, actually, kind of. Let's see, where's my that. So we kind of see the top of this pennant here, bottom. Trying to do see a resting bid right here. So we'll see what happens with that. Right at that 6,300. 200 lot negative delta hit down there at 62.98. So we'll see if this area holds. Again, market's only been open for 10 minutes, so kind of just letting this develop, get a feel for the current conditions. Just looking at the charts, it looked pretty slow from my view. We had a really explosive rally and nice large rally on Thursday before the Friday holiday. But honestly, guys, just looking at it on the 15-minute, I'm not sure if I would have even caught that or traded it. It just exploded up in the first hour from 9:30 to 10:30. There was really no pullbacks, and then it just consolidated up there at the highs. So even if I was at my screens on Thursday, I'm not even sure I can sit here and tell you guys that I would have caught that move. It literally blasted off the open and just pulled back a tiny little bit and just kept going. And then never just continued to squeeze higher and then just consolidated at the highs and pulled back right at the end of the day. So I can't even confidently tell you guys, unless I saw something really good on the order flow, I would have caught that. That was probably the best, largest move of the week last week. Just kind of going back and glancing through the charts here from last week. Kind of the same thing on Wednesday. It dipped a tiny little bit and then just rallied and squeezed. And it looks like a pretty choppy grind all day higher on Wednesday. A little bit of a nice dip and move on Tuesday. Had a nice little dip down, double bottomed right at the pre-market lows and then rallied. I probably would have been looking at that for a nice bottom reversal. And then Monday, super sideways, probably would have walked away in the first hour on Monday after just looking at the price action. So honestly, I took the whole week off. There's like maybe one or two trades that I would have looked to catch all last week. Just looking at the charts, like things that would have been a clear setup. I'd love to sit here and tell you guys I would have caught that rally on Thursday, but honestly, it just doesn't look extremely tradable for how I trade usually. Unless I'll have to go back and review Thursday's order flow on Bookmap. I'll have to get the replay data from someone because I didn't record it. Like I said, I didn't even have my computers on all week, and review that and see. Sometimes I do catch a nice little breakout setup, but if I don't see good stuff to catch it on the order flow to frame my risk around, I don't chase a move up. Just have to wait for another setup. Kiowa Trader said Thursday was a no trade day for me due to that reason. Best move came at 9:55. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the vibe that I get. Like, it was a nice move up, but just looking at the chart, like, I'm not even sure like where or how I would have traded that. caught a long on the retest of 6,300 on Thursday for 15 points. Nice trade, Logan. Nice, nice. Let me see where that occurred at here. Retest of 6,300. Okay, yeah, I mean, that probably would have been the best setup of the day on that pullback after we kind of broke strongly above 6,300 right around 9:40 a.m. That probably, you would have been playing basically a break and retest above 6,300. Fair. Typically use TM Lite, but I've noticed it sometimes filters out some significant order. Do you watch both TM Lite and the raw? Yeah, so I do have this. I can look at the regular one over here. So I can look at that. The other thing that you can do is on the TM Lite settings. If you go to the TM Lite settings, you can, I have mine set on standard, but you can change it to low sensitivity too. And you'll see a bit more. Oops. It's gonna try to reload all that data now. Let me switch it back. Let me go back. Sorry guys, messing up the view here. But yeah, you can do that and it will reduce the sensitivity of the orders that it filters out. i.e. it will show you like more stuff that's not filtered out. All right, continuing to see a lot of selling here this morning so far. Buying is kind of drying up here. Just look at these pops up here. It's just seeing a little bit weaker and weaker buying. So there was that nice bit of buying off the open. It got sold off here in the first few minutes. Now we tried to bounce a couple times and this buying's just gotten weaker and weaker. On the order flow on the footprint chart I'm looking at, I'm seeing a couple hundred lot positive deltas that could be, you know, trapped buyers at these highs around 6304, 6305. So if we continue to sell off from here, those in the short term, very short term, those buyers could be put in pain if we break down here and could initiate a little bit of a further drop. Am I looking to short that? Not so much, not really, but it's just an important context to maybe avoid buying along at these highs right now until something changes. Yeah, that's kind of, Blair said he's waiting for a fake down below the low day. I'm kind of also standing by for a little bit more of a pullback just based on what I'm seeing right now. And then see if buyers want to step in a larger and more aggressive way if we pull back a little bit further, either more into this zone that I talked about between 62.98 and 62.90 or under 62.90. This. Sorry, I'm just looking at the charts here. Painfully slow for a Monday. Yeah, I mean, Mondays can be a bit choppy and slow. I tend to try to be extra patient on Mondays and let things develop. Actually, I'm going to get rid of these little lines I drew here now. Not really super key or important. I try to be patient on Mondays and let it develop. We have lighter news this week. We're kind of consolidating here near all-time highs. volatility is pretty low. It's summertime. That's another thing to keep in mind. Just seasonality, volume, and volatility tends to be lower right now over the summer till like around September. So some important things to keep in mind. Just looking at the 15 minutes so far on the day, wiki, upper and lower wick. Pretty much just oscillating around that 6,300 area, right around where price opened at. Seeing some large positive deltas above that 6,300, seeing some large negative deltas below that 6,300. Between basically that whole area between 62.98 and then 63.04, 63.05. We're now hitting the top of this area now. So if we break out of this now with larger buying like we're starting to see right now and pull back into here, that may be a more interesting area to watch now. So let me see here. Not a horizontal line, rectangle. Say like, I wouldn't, once we're up here, I wouldn't want to see this break back under 6,300, but pretty much this area, which is pretty much right around 6,300, right around VWAP. If we break out of here now with some nice strong buying and we get a nice pullback into here, then I'll maybe look to see about taking this on a long setup, and then target probably around 63.20 to 30. That kind of consolidation area from Thursday's highs. Maddie took in longs from 6,300. Cool. Yeah, I mean, there was that negative delta building down there, which was a good indicator. Around 62.98 and 62.99.75. So right around that. To me, I was also seeing a lot of positive delta just above that, negative delta just below that. So it was just kind of a little just like kind of 50-50 consolidating around there. Now that we're kind of breaking above that zone though with larger buying, it's a little more interesting to me. If we sell back down into here and I see it getting defended strongly, then that's more interesting. But if we slice back through that and we continue to consolidate around that, then it's not so interesting to me. There's a little pullback right there. It looks like a lot of buying's coming in around it. I wanted to see it just a little bit more of a pullback. There is a 260 lot negative delta built right at 63.07. Maddie's still in it. Yeah, I mean, even the week before I was out last week, I was noticing a lot of consolidations and then like just squeezing higher after that, and getting in on the low of the consolidations was working. But with volatility being so low, if you didn't get in right at the lows, it just kind of continued to squeeze higher and didn't really offer quite a lot of pullbacks that offered good risk and reward setups. So we're dropping back into here now. Let's see what happens. Pretty slow price action. I've said this before in the past weeks too. It's a little tough to scalp and get a good feel for the pace of the market when it's so slow. But that is how it goes pretty much all summer long a lot of times. We also, looking at the daily chart, have not closed a red day in quite some time. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 going on 10 days since we've closed a red day. So yeah, I was thinking about grabbing along here too. Logan caught it long here. To me, really, to invalidate this idea would probably be risking below 6,300. I guess I could, if I want to say these sellers are trapped here, I could put my stop loss right under 05 here, and see if that holds for just like a 1 or 2 point attempt at this, which might work here. There is a 200 lot negative delta at 6,305. Which is right here. So this could hold. And if I do see another little pullback here and I see some bids appear to hit it, then I will maybe take a stab at it and put my risk under here. I do like how this bid reappeared here at 6,305. I just would have liked to see a quick, like kind of sharp pullback in here. We do see these bids popping up in this zone that I marked here. So 6,305, 6,302 down here, 113 lots, 93 lots, another one here, 78 lots. So I would like to see kind of a quick sharp drop in here, kind of like we saw right here. It just didn't go too far into this zone. For me, I'm thinking to frame my risk would probably really be under 6,300 would really invalidate it, but I could try to sneak in an entry. 06 would have been a good spot, where I think Logan just said it's a good spot to sneak in an entry there and see if this holds where this bid was getting filled. And it rebid here too. So we filled at 6,305. This bid's popping up again. So we'll see if we get another quick drop down into here and if those bids continue to want to hold it. I am seeing a lot of negative delta building up here. So sellers are wanting to sell this right here, but not getting much of a pullback so far. So this could be interesting. This bid is popping up here, but selling is increasing. So let's see if we get a quick little drop down into here and if it holds. 300 lot negative delta at 63.05. Kind of good bit of selling here, coming towards the bottom of that area. Let's see what happens here. See this bid trying to step in here, but we'll see. We're kind of slicing back through that zone, back under 6,300 now, and didn't see anything significant step in. So saw it try to absorb here and just failed. Now we're kind of slicing back through that 6,300. So standing by. Gonna remove that drawing now. Definitely quick bit of selling. Now we're back in that zone that I talked about between 62.90 and 62.98. Some buying stepping in down here now, 95. I like how he kind of swept out that morning low there at 62.97. We're now seeing some aggressive buying. Let's see if we get another dip into this. Saw this a bit appear here. So we'll see what happens here. We're now reclaiming that 6,300 after dipping below and sweeping out those morning lows. So we'll see if sellers reject the 6,300 or if we pull back and hold and then begin to rally back above 6,300 now. This has kind of been a key spot all morning, is the 6,300. Nice if we reclaim this reclaim this 6,300 and rally back towards the highs now. So I just took a stab at this long at 6,300. I like the reclaim above that. I'll probably be really tight with the risk here. Initially, I'm going to risk under 62.97 for like 3 points. But if this doesn't work right away and I don't see buying, I might cut this really quick for a point. If we drop below this low here that formed at 62.99, we'll see. I would like to see aggressive buying drive this higher now after making these two little lows here under 99. I wouldn't want to see this kind of dip under here. We kind of broke back above that 6,300 with pretty aggressive buying. We pulled back and held right here at these 99s. So I want to see this kind of drive higher right now. Yeah, if this rejects here, I'm not loving that. Want to see this kind of get aggressive from buyers here. Else just take this off. I liked the wick under the low of day into that kind of zone that I had marked, but it may not be enough here. Letting this breathe for just a second, but I'm just about to close it if I don't see aggressive buying step in like right now. Yeah, you want to see this kind of aggressive buying stepping in here succeed in a pretty fast way right now. You don't want to see it. You want to see this reclaim above 6,300 spark some interest from buyers to really get in. We had that quick sharp drop that swept out the lows into that key zone. You want to see that followed up by a lot of interest to get these sellers off sides that drove this price down here. And if sellers are able to reject this 6,300 now and drive price lower, then we could see a further drop this morning. All right. Just not getting a ton of excitement on the recapture of that 6,300. Was wanting to see some more aggression from buyers step in here. Yeah. All right. I'm going to take this off. Took about 1.5 off there. I might be too risky. I might be too tight on this, but I took a 2-point loss actually. I don't want to sit on this for too long. This buying just got weak up here and pulled back. So, it is what it is. We'll see if this, maybe I was too tight on this and maybe should have kept a stop loss under here, but we'll see. I'm just not seeing much excitement at all right now. It's just kind of flat. So when I saw this, we kind of got this aggressive buying back up here at 6,300, and I kind of saw these pullbacks hold. So I said, okay, let me get in right here at 6,300. But I didn't want to see this really break back under. I really wanted to see this 99 lows hold after we broke above that and held right here. So this buying just kind of dwindled and dwindled. I'd rather just take it for a 2-point loss and then reevaluate if we get another drop lower. Yeah, there's just not a ton of excitement right at the moment. Not a ton of trapped sellers. We dipped out in here and got this aggressive buying, but it didn't really get any follow through. Kind of went flat and then pulled back. And I saw this buying just kind of get weaker and weaker here. So that's why I just kind of cut it for a 2-point loss. Because at this point, just seeing all this, to me, that there's no point of putting my stop loss down here under these lows, because if this didn't hold right up here and this buying got smothered, it's just very likely that we're going to go take this out now. So I'll just take the loss here instead of holding it for a 4 or 5-point loss down here. Just for the style of setup that I was looking for. We recaptured above 300. We pulled back and held 99. I was looking for more buying momentum to come in. It just didn't come in. So that's fine. I'll sit back and wait, and we'll see if we get another drop lower. That sets up a better entry. Or, this may just grind a bit lower. Like I said, we've been on a 9-day uptrend. If I don't see good key confirmations at a key area, I'm not going to try to force catching a bottom on this when it may be that buyers are a little exhausted up here. And now today we may go pull back further. More absorption here, larger absorption this time. See what happens from it. Would like to see this recapture above 6,300 now. Victor, you fumbled hard. How did you fumble hard, man? Stopped you out to the tick. Flipped long at 97. Yeah, it's tough to say here. I would like to see this break above and hold above 6,300 for the bullish thesis on this zone. Watching for a lower high to get in short, Ryan says. Yeah, it could work, but just the overall context, like we haven't closed a red day in 9 days, so I'm not trying to call when they will. The trend is up, so I'm continuing to watch these dips. But, you know, in the short term, anything could play either way. I liked this absorption down here, but I would want this to see, I would want to see this get back above 6,300 and hold. Uptrend line is broken and reclaimed. I haven't really looked at that uptrend line. Let me see if I can pull that up. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, you'd want to see buyers buy this up pretty aggressively. I did re-enter my setup, but I want to see this continue above 6,300 to get in, or to continue to hold this. If bulls reclaim 6,300, that could be a really nice dip and bounce setup to go target the highs above 63.10 to 63.15. And we're right in the middle of that zone that I talked about between 98 and 62.90. Blair, you're in at 98 with a stop. I got back in at 62.95. It was pretty tight, and my risk is break even. But I liked this large absorption down here at 95 when we saw this, and then that selling got weaker here, and then I got in right here at 62.95. But I'm just watching and waiting, and my risk was literally a point. But I'm moving it to break even now on this. I want to see this reclaim 6,300 and not reject. There is a lot of positive delta here at 99 and 98, so I want to see that hold for sure. David just joined. What's up, David? Welcome. Yeah, so I was watching this for longs. I took a 2-point stop loss on the initial long I tried on the low of day wick out. Waited and re-entered down here at the 95s. But I want to see this break and reclaim above 6,300 now to target the highs around 63.10, 63.15. We're now building a little bit of momentum above 6,300, so that's a good sign. But would want to see this continue to squeeze pretty quick now that we're above 6,300. I want to see, if you guys remember, this is what I said on my initial entry, is what I wanted to see, that dip under 6,300 into that zone. Unfortunately, when I got my initial entry up here, the buying just faded. Then we saw another dip. I was able to get it back again. And now we're seeing that aggression above 6,300, which is what I wanted to see on my initial entry. So I may scale out half here momentarily since I had that first loss on the day. Cover, go green right on this VWAP test. And then just ride the second half to the highs. Yeah, I scaled half there. I wouldn't have scaled half there if I was not, I didn't start the day with that small loss. But I'm going to take myself green on the day there. I scaled half at 63.02. So 7 points. I probably would continue to hold the full size with break-even risk. But since I took that kind of 2-point loss to start the day, I'm going to cover myself a little bit there, especially since this is my first day back. Guaranteed green day now, even if it's small. And now I'll hold this second half and see if we can go break out those 63.10s to 63.15s. And this is just the first little bit of resistance I saw here right at VWAP above that 6,300. So I'm not super confident in this breakout of 6,300 yet until I see a lot of large aggressive buying above 6,300, above this VWAP. So that's why I said, okay, let me cut half here. I don't want to risk taking a second full red trade or break even, and then I'd probably walk away. I already had a 2-point loss to start the day. Let me cover half right here for 7 points. I did. Now this is pulling back pretty sharply, which stinks. But see what happens here. I'm going to let this breathe now. But you really want to see buyers sustain momentum above this 6,300 now. And we saw that little consolidation here and pump above 6,300, and then it stalled right here at VWAP where I scaled out half for 7 points. Again, I was risking like 1 point. Right here. So you saw this large absorption on that dip into that zone. You saw these bids get filled. It popped up here. I took it long as soon as I saw this aggressive buying start to step in, 95, stop under there. But it looks like I'm about to get stopped out for break even on the second half now. So good thing I went ahead and scaled out half and, took the green trade, covered my first loss, and then a little bit of profit on the day regardless now. NQ leading market higher. Let me see. Haven't looked at NQ or VX or anything else today. VX is a little bit more elevated from, it got all the way down to the 18s. Let's see, SPY, nothing significant, kind of the same thing, kind of right in the middle. Let's look at what's NQ doing. NQ has made a couple higher lows now off the 22,898 or 22,900 area. Couple higher lows now. We'll see if these buyers can sustain this or if this ES rejects back lower. We're seeing some absorption stepping in here. You'd want to see this really just drive and get aggressive buying coming in and rallying above 6,300 now. That was a pretty thin volume little dump though on that rejection right where I scaled out. Right where I scaled out, there was a 298 lot negative delta too, which was weird. That's part of the reason why I took that off right here when we saw this start to pop up here. But I'm not holding this red, so good chance that I'm going to take this off now. Buyers are just not getting the juice this morning on these pops. So the entries, this entry is good. The zone is there. This is the zone that I wanted. We got aggressive buying after. I scaled out to cover myself on the day, but just not getting continuation from buyers so far. And this is kind of a lot of large aggressive buying here. This is what I wanted to see after my entry. And we broke above these highs again, these prior highs that had formed here at 6,300. And we popped back above that 6,300 all the way into like 02, 03 with some pretty large buying. And now we're just pulling back again. It just fizzled and pulling back again with some selling. So if this can't sustain and get a nice bounce like right here, I'm definitely not holding this red. I'll be out at 95. Unfortunately, there are some bids popping up down here, but just the buying has continued to get squashed. And I don't like that we broke above this high above 6,300 and now rejecting again. So good scale out there. We'll see what happens. I'm a tick away, so. Yeah, there's a lot of selling building right at these lows here. $213 lots negative at 95.25. Just a tick away from cutting me out, which it's probably going to any second now. Yep, I'm out. Unfortunately, I mean, I really I want to get back in this because it looks like it's ready to bounce here. All this negative delta building at the lows, absorbing this, but I can't hold this trade red now. And I don't like that we've now failed multiple times on these pops higher. Rejecting, we already got this aggressive buying coming in and just couldn't sustain. So it may have come back just one more time and got me out break even. And maybe now it goes and rallies, which would just be pretty unfortunate. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Not going to hold that red. Not going to hold that red. Didn't like to see that aggressive buying that did recapture back above 6,300 briefly, immediately fail. Now we're potentially trapping all that aggressive buying and making another lower high. So certainly looks ripe to keep rejecting lower in the short term. But it's all good. I made back that little loss that I had. And so essentially slightly green, but pretty much a break-even day, which is okay. First day back after a week off. It literally, guys, when you trade every day and scalp every day, when you take a full week off like that is rare for me. And coming back, it feels like I haven't been on the screens in 3 months. Just taking a week off feels like I've been out for 3 months. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but for me, taking a week out of the screens fully, it just feels like a really long time. Great risk management. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I mean, I didn't need to wait for my stop loss on the first trade. Took it off for a very small loss because just could see the buying getting weak and the selling getting strong on the dump. There was just no reason to continue to hold that. So I cut the trade quickly for a 2-point loss. And then this time I caught a great entry right at the lows. I saw exactly what I wanted to see, which is aggressive buying, drive back over 6,300. I scaled out there because I already started the day red, took, take myself back to break even plus. And then unfortunately, exactly where I scaled out right at 63.02 was almost the top, and we rejected back below my entry now. So if that would have been my first trade of the day, then I probably would have just held that whole thing and held the break even risk for the chance. But being very defensive, wanting to make back the earlier loss, decided to scale out quickly that first bit. We did come back and sweep the lows again. We're still holding in that zone between 62.90 and 62.98 that I talked about. We swept the lows again here, and now we're seeing aggressive buying pumping in. But I'm a little hesitant, guys, now after seeing this, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low now. 1, 2, 3, 4 lower lows, lower highs now. And this was a great chance right here where I saw this entry, large selling get absorbed, and then we drove higher with, just look at the day. This was the most aggressive buying of the day that I was in on. I was already in on this from down here at the 95s, and then it just did not sustain. So the hint I'm taking from the current price action is just chill out and sit back. No reason to continue to try to fight this. We had the best opportunity, in my opinion, of the day for longs was right here on this dip with this absorption and this strong buying. I was in on it. I scaled out here, and then it just rejected. And so you don't really want to continue to fight that. Yes, it might bounce from here, but I'm going to pump the brakes and sit out now and watch. Just because I've already taken 2 stabs at it now. It failed both times. Yes, I was able to squeak out a little green on it or call it break even, but you know, you don't want to see yourself continuing to fight to catch a bottom. Yeah, it might eventually work, but you might take too many losses before it works. So it's not super clean here, but I'm going to continue to watch it for a little bit. Double bottomed right around 62.93. Right here, right here. But yeah, when you see, we already made this low, we swept out that low, there was a larger bin here, got absorbed, and then we bounced with aggressive buying. Ideally for me, for my setup, this is one of my setups that I look for here. And when I see this, I would have even looked for an entry up here at the 96, 97s. But I got a really good entry down here at the 95s. And that allowed me to have the most room for it to breathe. And that allowed me to get a decent first scale out just on the break above this highs at 6,300. Keep saying 50. I don't know why. I feel like this price has gone up 1,000 points so fast. But as Carmine says, it's like trying to catch a falling knife. Yeah, I just, you know, I tried it once, tried it twice. It may work this third time now, but just not, it doesn't look as good as it looked these first two times I've tried it, because like I said, we trapped all this aggressive buying and we're just spending too much time down here. And so far this buying keeps getting stuffed, which, you know, I'm not a super big fan of. So I'm just going to sit back and wait for now and see what develops. I mean, I like how this is still getting defended down here. Like I want to long this again, but maybe I would, if I hadn't taken this first entry over here, taken a 2-point loss, took it again, made that back, break even, you know, I think maybe since it's already going on the third trade on this, on trying to catch this level, it's just, I'm a little trigger shy from continuing to try it again now, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I wasn't really waiting for that gap fill. Somebody said, let it fill the gap. Yeah, I saw that gap. I was talking about that in the pre-market this morning. Let's look at that again. I didn't mark exactly where that like gap level was, but honestly, it kind of already, no, it didn't quite fill overnight. It almost filled. 62.90.75 was the low, and that gap level is at 62.90. So it came like 3 ticks away from filling that overnight. And now, yeah, I mean, we've come just a few points within closing that. I look for more things on the order flow to get my entries, as you guys can see, and it's not so much like I'm waiting for this gap level specifically to close on the candle chart. It's not really how I trade, but it would be better if at this point, if we saw a drop down into that gap area, fill at 62.90, and then bounce with aggressive buying. And super nice after that bounce if we saw a nice aggressive buying recapture above 6,300. Yeah, like I said, I really want to get in this again here because I'm like right where I got that first entry where this bid was around 95. We pulled back. Unfortunately, I got out for break even because it just wasn't worth holding red at this point. Like when this was dropping here, right here where I got, I had a hard break even stop in. There is nothing telling me that this couldn't just slice right through lower like hot butter. We are consolidating here and continuing to defend, which makes me want to try it again and get back in again. But it just doesn't look A+ to me anymore. What are you guys watching? Do you guys see kind of the same thing, or are you seeing something differently? I think what it is I already saw all this aggressive buying come in after trapping these sellers, and then it just immediately failed and rejected back lower. And that to me is making me a little standoffish right here. Very similar scenario, possibly switching my bias to say towards shorts as buying has been really strong, but where is the follow? Yeah, it's not following through. And this was, like I said, great entry where I was positioned for it. If you're buying at the highs, like trying to get continuation higher, that's a really painful morning so far. But even down here, like look at this, like we came back, we are defending that 95 level where I saw that, activity to get in long, but we're bouncing, and look at this larger buying here and here. Freaking spam calls buzzing my watch. Yeah, we're just lacking continuation and follow through, just a lot of large buying here and here, and it's not getting the juice. And so buyers about to catch these hands from these sellers. I'm a market profile trader. I see weakness in buyers at the lows and I'm short. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, even just from I'm not a market profile trader, but to me, I'm seeing, buyers trying at the lows and getting some bounce for the setup that I was looking for, but just not really getting any continuation. And just like zooming out here, we can see so far this morning, we are just continuing to make lower highs and lower lows. But it's not really great structure. To me. And this is almost kind of like a downward wedge, which is a little bit of a bullish pattern. Usually, like a lot of times, you'll see an upside breakout from a downward wedge. So I'll show you guys what I was watching here. Let's switch over now to, screen is that 4? Switch over to my other chart here and I'll show you guys. So like this consolidation and then rally was this area that I was watching for this, which we can see here. And there's that gap. I added that marked at 62.90. And so I've tried twice now to catch this long in this zone here where we had we had this gap up, we pulled back, nearly filled that gap by a couple ticks, consolidated. These are hourly candles. So 1, 2, 3 hours of consolidation, and then we rallied pretty strongly up here. So I was looking for the retest into this consolidation to take it long. I've tried it twice now, and it just lacked follow through. Both times I got a nice little bit of a pop from buyers, but then it just lacked continuation. It may be better to just be in with smaller size and just be more positioned with a wider stop for this. That may be the move. But for me, for my style of trading, I like to see the dips into here get bought, and I like to see a bit more aggression for a quicker scalp. And so far, we're not getting a lot of aggressive follow through to the upside from buyers here. Let's look at the 15. So that first time I caught it down here, we bounced all the way back up above 6,300 with pretty decent size buying and failed. And so this is kind of rallied and failed here. Little, as ICT guys say, fair value gap here, I guess you could say, between this candle and this one on this drop. I don't know. I'm not an ICT expert, but look at that structure. But we dropped right into this kind of basing and rally area. Tried to catch it long a couple times. So far has just lacked continuation to the upside. And we're still now consolidating in this prior consolidation area. To me, I don't really like initiating shorts down here because this was kind of a consolidation demand area where we kind of consolidated and rallied. We gapped up, we dropped back, consolidated and rallied out of it. We're dropping back again and kind of consolidating here. I don't really want to initiate shorts in here. And I didn't really want to initiate shorts up here either, just given the overall context when the market's rallying. I don't want to catch a top reversal. So if we were to like strongly sell off under here and retest back into here, then maybe I'd try to catch a top on like a retest bounce if selling's really strong. But that's not the first thing I'm looking for. The first thing I'm looking for is if we dip into here to take it long on a failed dip and then target these highs. Jorge, hi man, I'm waiting for 62.70 to 85 if buyer enter aggressively. Maybe price is trying to sustain NFP. Oh yeah, NFP was last week. I was out for that. Where was that? What day was that on? Or Friday, right? NFP was usually Friday, but was it earlier because of the holiday last week? Yeah, Friday was a holiday, so the NFP was on Thursday. NFP release. And Thursday is when we saw that day over here where we just rallied pretty strongly. So we're actually kind of testing just that opening range area from that Thursday rally from NFP. Actually, I don't really, this level is not really super key anymore to me. Get rid of that. Yeah, so we had this pretty nice rally here. And what time was that at 8:30, I'm assuming? Top of that's at 96. Then we came down here to 82. Yeah, so I mean, that would be a key area to watch. And it's also like we consolidated this bit of trading that occurred here on the holiday morning. So that is an interesting zone to watch if we dip back in there. That was good to point out there. So let me switch back over to Bookmap. This is that kind of higher time frame intraday wedge that we're seeing. We're sweeping back towards the lows of this again. But again, we saw this aggressive buying here. This is where I was saying I wanted to take it long, but I just contextually just didn't like it anymore after seeing this. We saw this aggressive buying and once again failing and dropping lower here. So maybe it's building up. Oh, here's a nice strong drop. So let's see what occurs right after here. This is key. This is like, now we fully swept that gap. This is like do or die for bulls now. $300 lot positive delta building at 90.75, 60 to 90.75. So we totally took out those lows now and filled that gap. So this is the very bottom of that 90 to whatever it was, 98 area that I was watching. A lot of selling still. VX also holding 18.5. Yeah, VX is is waking up a little bit. Yeah, still a decent amount of aggressive selling hitting right here. See what happens. Watching it closely, guys. Watching it closely. Some buying coming in here despite the selling. VX is still actually, I mean, pretty much sideways on the day. And I like these two kind of large absorption hits right on that dip under 90, right around 88. So let's see here. Now actually take a stab at this and put a stop loss right under 88. Basically risking what I padded earlier. So if it doesn't work, then I'll just be out break even on the day. It's kind of right now or never if buyers step in aggressively off this kind of double bottom with absorption and some aggressive buying stepping in here. But we are fully filled on that gap level now. And I'm not going to pretty much risk more than what I've already padded on the day here. Continuing to try to catch a bottom here. So there's some aggressive buying stepping in. Like I said, it's kind of like right now for buyers, or in the medium, short to medium term will continue to drop probably. So I'm in, where am I in at? At 89.50 and a stop like right under 88. So like a point and a half. But what I saw is first we had this large sweep out down here, those lows that filled that gap. Then we double bottomed off it with large aggressive selling here, and now starting to see some aggressive buying step in. So double bottom with absorption from these sellers right at that gap fill level at the bottom, very bottom of that zone that I was watching from 98 to 90. And now seeing some aggressive buying. So it's worth taking a stab at it. It's not worth, in my opinion, oversizing on it. So I'm being cautious with kind of small size. But, you know, I can't ignore, we are at the bottom of that zone. We double bottomed with absorption and now seeing aggressive buying stepping in. But so far today, every time we've seen this aggressive buying step in, it has failed. So we'll see if this time is different, or if this continues to reject lower after seeing this buying stepping in. Yeah, you don't love that. Don't love that. Yeah, don't love that. Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing the absorption and then aggressive buying start to step in multiple times now. And each time it's just fizzled and got smoked. So probably going to step out there. Unfortunately, it's just not it's not looking great for the long side on the bottom reversals right now. Why not look for shorts? I just don't. What am I targeting? Like, I don't have really good like targets in mind, and contextually, like just with how price action has been recently, it just seems like it is moving up on the higher time frames. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation to short here. I think the risk versus reward and probabilities just line up better for taking longs on dips into key areas. So even if it's not working right now, that's still kind of the market context that's in play right now. But yeah, if we broke under this with a little bit, I just haven't seen enough aggressive selling that shifted market structure on a higher time frames. And so, yeah, short term, these shorts are working so far intraday. And probably maybe it would have been better if I found a pop. I just didn't find a good area. I didn't see a good area where it made sense to short, in my opinion, with a target that made sense. Like it's still not really broken any key structure that makes sense for me to think about shorting. And just given the overall context of the location of where we are in the market, I'm not really trying to catch top reversals. Again, it worked today, but if you look at the last 9 days, it would not have worked pretty much every day. So that's where we're at. Or that's where I'm at with what I'm watching. Somebody said pop back into 6302, the low volume node is a short signal. Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly looking bearish today, intraday so far. And if you have bearish setups that align with this market context and the price action that we're seeing, then by all means trade them. But risk was managed. So even on a first day back like this, I'm still just like pretty much break even. So it's all good. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing more stuff that I like to see for bottom reversals. And we did pull back into those areas that I wanted to see for a bottom reversal. So that was really the setup that I was looking for. It's just so far lacked any kind of continuation from buyer each time it sets up. So it's kind of set up nicely a few times and just fizzled and lacked continuation from buyers. So that's how it played so far today. But that doesn't mean that's how it will play in the future. So when I see the setups that I like to see that align with like how I'm viewing the current like market location and levels, then I just take the setups, and sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But overall, they win more than they lose. So that's how I keep trading them. Good questions, though. And I mean, everyone has their own perspective and their own setups, and there's a million ways to trade setups, even on the same day. Different people, different views. As long as you have your own view and your own way of trading, it's a good chance that you'll generate profits over the long term. But I mean, how we've dropped down here and we still have not really like broken the overnight lows where we gapped up from. So this was just another nice setup here where we had this sweep and this large absorption. We double bottomed with weaker selling and absorption again, and then we started to see aggressive buying stepping in. That is like one of my favorite setups right there. And unfortunately today, so far, it just didn't work and we've pulled back. We still haven't really broken down this level. We're just kind of trading sideways at it, but it wasn't worth me continuing to hold the risk after seeing this buying fail again on this bounce. This was the setup with the double bottom absorption on weaker selling, then aggressive buying start to step in. It just didn't work so far today, which is okay. Sometimes nothing is 100%. This is, like I said, this was the bottom of that zone, and it is still looking to be setting up to be an interesting area to watch, just based on how price is reacting around it. Get rid of this. Like that was the bottom of that that zone that I mentioned, right around 62.90, is also that gap area. And this is looking pretty interesting. Like we're still consolidating and absorbing around this area. Let me go to the lower time frame and look at like where exactly that gap area is. Let's look at the 1 minute. So more precisely around 62.86 to 62.83. Yeah, 85.50. Yeah, right around there. Because I was just kind of looking at a 15-minute and not really looking very specifically at where that level was. So like right around 86 to 83 area. But we can see how this is developed. I mean, this didn't work, but this clearly, after we saw this sweep and absorption, weaker selling, then aggressive buying, it's still kind of reacting as a key area so far, like right around this box. You can see how it's just gone sideways right in there after that. Sometimes that happens. You know, I see the entry signal and the things that I look for, I take it. Sometimes we, you know, it's a bottom reversal and we bounce aggressively out of there. Sometimes like this, it just goes sideways and I take a point loss on it. And then, you know, sometimes it's wrong right away and I take more of a loss. But when the losses are very small and the times that it does work well, you know, it works for significantly high, more larger than what the losses are, then that's a good business model. But continuing to see a lot of large selling orders right here around these lows. Here, 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 here. And it's just flatlining here off that, despite all of that large selling. There's a lot of kind of volume stacking up here. It looks like there's a lot of positive delta and a lot of negative delta both. Like a lot of negative delta stacking up here at like 87, 88, and a lot of positive delta stacking up here at like 89. So see what happens. Yeah, you can see it right here on the volume profile delta. This is that positive delta stacked up right there, and this negative delta stacked up right there while we just consolidated. So it's like a tight little battle right there. And you can see on the volume profile of the day how that kind of built up there. But you could really clearly see the negative delta and the positive delta like really battling right there. Clearly there's more negative delta built up at the lows. So we'll see if that is rewarded and drives price lower, or if it does bounce and trap those sellers here. But so far, you know, sellers are staying in control of this move lower right here. And we did just wick under that 86 area. See what NQ is doing. NQ is still trying to bottom and bounce a little bit more than ES is. Yeah, on the, if you look at my screen here on the Dom Pro, I'm looking at the volume profile delta. here by price, and then I'm also seeing that on my footprint chart. So selling continuing to get rewarded here. This is still punching a little lower. But I like to minimize risk and not be too overly aggressive when I'm coming back from some time off from the screens. Just kind of build up some screen time, take a couple trades, and being break even ish is okay in my books. Like just getting a feel for things, working back in. To me, for how I trade, even just taking a full week off without looking at the screens at all can be a little not difficult, but just a little takes a little time to get back in the swing and getting the feel for things again. So I like to start a little slow, be very prudent with my risk management, and ease back in, build up a little bit of kind of screen time coming back from some time off. Ideally, catch a couple little base hits to kind of build back in to the swing of things. But it is coming up on 11:30, so almost 2 hours in now, and we've just been kind of grinding lower, I would say. This is kind of a grind lower, which is kind of a continuation of the pre-market that started around 8 a.m., 8:20 a.m., just kind of grinding lower, grinding lower. We popped a bit and grinding lower, grinding lower. I wouldn't say there's like a really ton of excitement and aggression from selling following through on the downside, just kind of grinding lower. But yeah, give me 30 seconds, guys, or a minute. I'm going to go reset my eyes for a second, and I'll stick around for a few. All right, we're back. And it looks like it's done almost nothing. Almost nothing. Still got this little area up here. Like I said, this is kind of a key, interesting area to watch. I'll leave that on for now. Don't really need that anymore. Did fill that gap on that drop down there now, around 83s. Let's see, where did this exactly trade to? 83.75. So we filled that gap now, 86 to 83 area. Nice 3-hour zone at 62.80. I haven't looked at a 3-hour chart. Some nice bit of buying here coming in after that gap fill. We'll see if it wants to actually do anything this time or if it gets stuffed again. See if I can extend this zone up here. Done for the day, up 1R after one loss, one break even, and a small 2R scalp. Hey, some days are just like that. Some days be like that. Yeah, I had a 2-point loss, then a 7-point partial half profit, and then break even, and then a little small loss after that. So it's just one of those days. Seems like, I mean, each time it'll be interesting now if we get back above this kind of consolidation area that I marked here in this box on Bookmap. Just because each time so far buying has popped, it has kind of gotten fizzled and stuffed. And so this would be a little bit of a change if we filled this gap after this consolidation, dip down, filled that gap area. If that recaptures above there now, then that is a little bit of an interesting change to the dynamic that we've seen so far today. Large offers at 290 that aren't spoofing. Yeah, there are some offers sitting up here. So we'll see what happens with those. And that's also right in the middle of this zone. So there's 335 lot that got filled at 89.25. See if some aggressive buyers want to overtake that or not. Look at the VPD over here. This is where I was talking about. Remember, I said there was kind of a tight battle of that negative delta. We retested right there at that negative delta. That is an interesting area for sellers to maybe want to reload. So that's why I say this is kind of an interesting point here to see, obviously we had this consolidation here that broke into that gap fill. This is an area where sellers you'd think would want to try to defend a pop into here. So it's an interesting dynamic whether they succeed or not here. If they do not succeed and buyers now break this over here, it could be that sellers have run out of gas right into this gap fill area. Have a good day, Ryan. Done for the day. Chilling. Good for you, brother. Enjoy your day. Yeah, it's close to the wrap up time because 11:30 we're kind of seeing pretty slow price action. This is kind of towards the end of when I look to execute trades in the morning session. But this is that zone. We'd want to see what happens here if sellers defend it and reject for another move lower, or if buyers overcome this, then that could be a shift in structure intraday. So we'll see. We'll see almost 1,000 lots of negative delta built up here at 88. See this over here on the DOM, 940 lots right now at 88.25. So that is an interesting thing right here. But yeah, this whole, I don't know if I can't really like draw anything, but this whole area between 90 and 87, where this positive and negative delta stacked up, is an interesting key area to watch here to see what develops from that. And that lines up with the gap area that we mentioned, and it also lines up with the morning rally area from NFP. So a couple key points on why that area is a key area. Gap level, NFP rally origination area. So, and then we're seeing all this activity pop up around here, further confirming that this is a key technical area. It sure is slow, though. Sure is slow to react in this area. $259 lot negative delta now stacked up here at 87. We did close a green 15-minute candle off of that test of that gap area, which is the first time we've closed a green 15-minute candle since 10:15 a.m., so over an hour ago. But so far lacking follow through again. Marking this box is from where this large selling was when we kind of wicked down here to the top of where this kind of large buying was. Man, hopefully we get a little bit better volatility this week. After today, it is Monday, so we'll see. But hopefully we do get a little bit more juice in the volatility later this week. Mo, have a good day, Watt. Thanks for your time. Yep, you're welcome. Have a good day. 62.90, was that not a perfect area to sell? Yeah, it just depends on, I mean, yeah, if you're continuing to look for lower prices on a drop here, this pop into this 90 area, that's what I said. Like, it's a pivotal area. If we pop into here, and I was more watching to see how it reacts, if sellers defend it or if buyers break out above it. So far, we're just still kind of consolidating right at this area. Yeah, really just slow sideways consolidating right in this area. But kind of the same thing we saw that I was saying, which was on this pop back in here. If we got back above there, again, kind of the same thing. We dipped, we came back with a lot of buying. So we're seeing that absorption and bouncing at the lows. Like I said, that I like to see. However, pause, comma, each time we see this, it lacks continuation. And that's continuing to be the theme today so far. You know, we see that absorption that I like to see. We saw that dip down in here, and we saw that bounce with aggressive buying, and continuing to see that each time, not getting that follow through, which you like to see for a bottom reversal in an uptrend. Each time we see that, you know, that absorption, that aggressive buying, and it gets that bounce. So if you get a nice entry, you can catch it. But then the problem is each time it has just lacked that follow through. And we saw that offer appear up here, right in this zone. So to me, in the current location, it's tough to target. It's tough to find something to continue to target to short down here without seeing like a larger shift that breaks under this zone, and then see nice pops that fail. It's continuing to work though today. It's continuing to work though today. But we could see right where I marked this zone, popped up back into here with this aggressive buying. And so far, failed, rejected again. Sellers did want to reject that again. So nothing too terribly significant. Another strong bit of selling right there. Taking out some lows from Friday, possibly during the holiday. Give me a sec. All right. Yep. Continuing to break down. Not a whole lot has changed. What I'd be watching for going into the rest of the day is just looking at these lows. I'm going to step away from the charts now. I'll probably wrap it up here. But what I am watching for, if this happens, I'm going to set alerts, is Friday's lows to see if we test those around 79 to 76 is area. If we do test those and I do see anything significant in the afternoon session from buyers, then maybe I'll look at that. But if not, it's all good. First day back from a week off. So I'm going to wrap up here, guys. Go move on to do other things with my day. It is pretty slow, grinding lower price action. So no need to try to step in front of this. Was able to catch a couple spots, take it long. We got the bounce, just did not get any kind of follow through from that bounce. So that's a key for me to just say, peace. Have a good day. Thanks everybody for joining in, and I will see you guys this week. I'll post any recaps if I do take any other trades off this, just to let you guys know where I was watching. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.